This is Jeremy with Clarity, and in this video, we're going to be doing a follow-along quiz of the muscles of the upper extremity. This video is meant as a bridge, and it bridges the gap between first learning and understanding the names of these muscles and the orientation of them, and then being confident enough to take a quiz and know that your answer is right. With that being said, the structure of this video is going to be question, answer, explanation, and it complements two other videos of mine. One of them being a video in which I break down each muscle, why it's named what it is, the fiber orientation, and things in that manner. And the other video is a step up from this one where we just have question and answer. So this one allows you to quiz yourself while also having friendly reminders of why the answer is the answer. So to get started, what is this muscle? This is our deltoid muscle. Deltoid comes from the Greek letter delta, which is triangular in its shape. Therefore, the muscle that is shaped like a triangle or an upside down delta is the deltoid muscle. If we take this off, it makes these other ones a little bit easier. What is this muscle? This is our biceps brachii muscle. Now let's break that word down. Bi implies two, ceps comes from caput, meaning head, and brachii comes from brachium, meaning arm. Biceps, two head, brachium means arm, or brachii refers to brachium, which means arm, and it's a muscle. So it's the muscle with two heads in the arm. Biceps brachii muscle. Now what are the two heads? Which specific head of the biceps brachii muscle is this? And which one is this? If you said that this is the short head of the biceps brachii muscle and this is the long head, you are correct. And whenever we talk about short versus long head of the biceps brachii muscle, it refers more to the tendons rather than the actual muscle bellies themselves, as the tendon of the short head of the biceps brachii muscle attaches to the coracoid process of the scapula, while the tendon of the long head of the biceps brachii muscle takes a longer course to attach to the supraglenoid tubercle of the scapula, hence long head and short head. Now a quick memory tip to help you know which one is medial and which one is lateral is that the long head is lateral, and you attribute the L's together. Long, lateral. Therefore, short head of the biceps brachii muscle is the more medial head. Now let's keep going. What is this muscle? This is our coracobrachialis muscle. Coraco because it attaches to the coracoid process of the scapula, similar to the short head of the biceps brachii muscle, and brachialis because it attaches to the brachium, or the arm. Coracobrachialis. Now if we remove the biceps brachii muscle, we reveal something else. What is this muscle? This is our brachialis muscle. And a helpful memory tip for this is that because we know that this is the coracobrachialis muscle, and the second word or the second part of that word, coracobrachialis, is brachialis, and this muscle can be seen as an extension of this, then we know that this is the brachialis muscle, which begins where that brachialis portion of the coracobrachialis muscle ends. This is our brachialis muscle. And to help with orientation of superficial and deep, if we look at the lateral aspect of the arm, we can see how the biceps brachii muscle is superficial to the brachialis muscle. We're going to keep this removed. What is this muscle? This is our subscapularis. And before I give an explanation, we're going to identify some others. What is this muscle? This is the infraspinatus. What is this muscle? This is the supraspinatus muscle. What is this muscle? This is teres minor. What is this muscle? This is teres major. And what is this muscle? This is part of a bigger muscle, but what is this? This is part of our latissimus dorsi muscle. So to give an explanation for the rotator cuff muscles, there's 4 muscles and 2 different sides of the scapula and 1 mnemonic that brings it all together. And that mnemonic is SITS, S-I-T-S, for the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis muscles. So the first 3 in that acronym, S-I-T, are named in a superior to inferior fashion on the posterior aspect of the scapula, whereas the last one is the only one on the anterior aspect of the scapula. This subscapularis muscle sits in that subscapular fossa of the scapula, and it attaches to the lesser tubercle of the humerus. Now to get a little bit more in depth as to why these are named what they are, this is the scapular spine. So the muscle that sits above the spine of the scapula is the supraspinatus muscle. Supra meaning above, spinatus referring to the scapular spine. The muscle above the scapular spine is the supraspinatus muscle, and to the same degree, the muscle below it is the infraspinatus muscle. This infraspinatus muscle is the most powerful external rotator of the humerus, and just inferior to the infraspinatus muscle, we have teres minor, and minor is above major, in which teres major sits inferior to teres minor. What is this muscle? This, again, is part of that latissimus dorsi muscle, and on the anterior aspect, we can see how the latissimus dorsi muscle crosses anterior to teres major, whereas on the posterior aspect, we see it inferior to teres major. Let's look at the back of the arm. What is this muscle? This is the long head of the triceps brachii muscle. What is this muscle? This is the lateral head of the triceps brachii muscle. And what is this muscle? This is the medial head of the triceps brachii muscle. Triceps, tri meaning 3, ceps meaning head, 3 heads. Brachii, referring to the brachium or the arm. Muscle, telling you that this is a 3-headed muscle in the arm with 3 different heads. The lateral head is lateral. The long head parallels the lateral head but is medial to it. And the medial head starts more distally than the other 2. It's not as long as them, but it is more medial than they are. Medial head, long head, and lateral head. Let's get into the forearm. What is this muscle? Let me put the hand in here to make it a little bit easier to reference. What is this muscle? This is our brachioradialis muscle. What is this muscle? This is our extensor carpi radialis longus. And our brachioradialis and extensor carpi radialis longus muscles are the only 2 muscles that attach to the lateral supracondylar ridge of the humerus, which is just on the distal lateral aspect of the humerus. So those two muscles run together and share the same proximal attachment site. Therefore, if we can identify one, we can identify the other one. Just as we have an extensor carpi radialis longus, we must have a brevis. But we're going to get to that later. What is this muscle? This is our pronator teres. What is this muscle? This is our flexor carpi radialis longus. What is this muscle? This is our palmaris longus muscle. And what is this muscle? This is our flexor carpi ulnaris muscle. So to give an explanation for all four of these muscles, whenever we talk about the anterior compartment of the forearm, they all have a common attachment site to the medial epicondyle of the humerus. And because of that, they are all oriented to either be a pronator and or a flexor. So this is our pronator teres. Because of that fiber orientation running in this diagonal manner, if I were to put my arm here and we were to imagine those fibers being diagonal here, whenever it shortens or contracts and pulls these 2 points together, it creates pronation. This was our flexor carpi radialis muscle. Flexor because it's in the anterior compartment, carpi because it goes towards the wrist or carpus, and radialis because it's on the thumb or radial side. Flexor carpi radialis. This is our palmaris longus muscle because it has a long tendon and it goes towards the palm, hence palmaris longus. And this is our flexor carpi ulnaris. Flexor because it's in the anterior compartment, carpi because it goes towards the wrist or carpus, and ulnaris because it's on the pinky or ulnar side of the wrist. The way we remember these is PF, PF. PF. If we keep turning the arm, what is this muscle? This is our extensor carpi ulnaris. So just as we had a flexor carpi ulnaris in the anterior compartment of the forearm, we have an extensor carpi ulnaris in the posterior compartment of the forearm. We can remember this because just like the muscles in the anterior compartment were either pronators and or flexors, the muscles in the posterior compartment are either extensors and or supinators. And just as the anterior compartment had a common attachment site on the medial epicondyle of the humerus, the posterior compartment has a common attachment site on the lateral epicondyle of the humerus. And right next to this muscle, we have this small muscle. What is this? This is our extensor digiti minimi muscle. We can see that tendon go all the way to the little finger. Extensor digiti minimi. Extensor because it's in the posterior compartment. Digiti minimi because it goes to the mini digit, or pinky finger. What is this muscle? This is our extensor digitorum. Extensor because it's in the posterior compartment. Digitorum because it goes to digits 2, 3, 4, and 5. Extensor digitorum. It extends our digits. What is this muscle? This is our extensor carpi radialis brevis muscle. It's brevis because it's shorter than longus, as longus goes to that lateral supracondylar ridge of the humerus, and brevis just goes to that lateral epicondyle. Now we can start removing some layers. What is this muscle? This is our abductor pollicis longus muscle. What is this muscle? This is our extensor pollicis brevis muscle. What is this muscle? That tendon. This is our extensor pollicis longus muscle. What is this muscle? This is our extensor indicis muscle. Extensor because it's in the posterior compartment, indices because it goes to our index finger. Extensor indices. Extensor pollicis longus because it extends the pollex or thumb, and it's longer than that brevis. And this is our abductor pollicis longus, and it's longest because we have a brevis, and it's abductor because its action is abduction of the thumb. The way we remember the orientation of these three is that we have a brevis sandwich. Whenever we talk about a sandwich, there's a top and bottom slice. The top and bottom slice in this sense are two different longest muscles, whereas the meat in the middle is brevis. So we have a brevis in between two longest muscles. We have two extensors beneath an abductor muscle, and they all go to the pollex. Abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, and extensor pollicis longus. If we flip this over, we can remove the brachioradialis and extensor carpi radialis muscles. What is this muscle? This is our supinator muscle. If we look at this kind of close, what is this muscle? This is part of our flexor digitorum superficialis. And we can see it a little bit better if we were to take this piece off and look on the inside. All of this is our flexor digitorum superficialis. And we can see how this muscle is deep to the others, as that flexor digitorum superficialis is the muscle in layer 2 of the anterior compartment of the forearm under that PFPF, which has those 4 muscles in layer 1. Flexor digitorum superficialis. Flexor because it's in the anterior compartment of the forearm, digitorum because it flexes our digits, superficialis because it is superficial. But what is it superficial to? First, what is this muscle? This is our flexor digitorum profundus. Flexor because it's in the anterior compartment, digitorum because it flexes our digits, profundus because it is deep. And what is it deep to? Well, it's deep to our flexor digitorum superficialis. What is this muscle? This is our flexor pollicis longus muscle. Flexor because it's in the anterior compartment, pollicis because it goes to the thumb or pollex, and longus because we have a brevis. Whenever we talk about some of the muscles of the hand, we have abductors, flexors, and things in that manner as well. So, what would be this muscle? This is our abductor digiti minimi, because it abducts our mini digit. It abducts our pinky finger. To that same degree, what is this muscle? This is our abductor pollicis brevis. Remember, we had an abductor pollicis longus. Therefore, this is shorter than that, but it still does the same thing to the same structure. So it abducts our pollex, but it's the short version, abductor pollicis brevis. What is this muscle? This is our flexor pollicis brevis. Brevis because it's short. And what is it short compared to? It's short compared to our flexor pollicis longus muscle. But it still does the same thing to the same structure. It still flexes the thumb or the pollex. Flexor pollicis brevis. What is this muscle? This is our flexor digiti minimi. Flexor because it flexes the digit, digiti minimi because it flexes the mini digit, flexes our pinky finger. So our abductors are on the outside, our flexors are in the middle, and beneath them, what is this muscle? That is our opponent's pollicis muscle that allows for opposition of the thumb. So that covers a lot of the muscles of the upper extremity, including the deltoid that is already removed, some of the rotator cuff muscles, as well as the anterior and posterior compartments of the arm or brachium and of the antebrachium or that forearm. We did cover a few in the hand. If this helps, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Consider checking out some of the other videos.